It's Tuesday, March 10th, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Barbados and the rest of the region cannot allow the economics of fear to shape the response to the dreaded COVID-19 coronavirus. Executive Director of Lumen Consulting, Senator Lisa Cummins, made the comment during yesterday's University of the West Indies Vice Chancellor's Forum on COVID-19, partnering in the Caribbean's response. Senator Cummins, who is also the chairman of the Barbados Port Inc., told stakeholders it was crucial for the Caribbean to continue to follow the science when it comes to the virus.
But once we have protocols in place, methodologies in place that allow us to test, using the science, come to a conclusion, and then implement the outcomes, then we are in a better position. But there's nothing like seeing a cruise passenger with their faces pressed up against the window of their stateroom, unable to disembark that ship. There is a human impact of all of this. When people are able to finally get off that ship, the emotion is something that's also incredibly powerful. And we have to bear in mind that we are cruising, we are flying, and we need to be able to ensure that all across the Caribbean, not only are we treating to the economic impact of making sure that in an environment where we are already vulnerable, already exposed, already with very little buffer, we're already trying to get our economies going again, that we do not allow the economics of fear to cripple us even more so than the actual economic impact has the potential to do as we stand.
Focus will be placed on containment and curtailing the spread of the COVID-19 coronavirus whenever it is identified in Barbados. Word of this from Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Anton Bess, who says most of the countries around the world that have recorded cases of the virus have managed to stop the spread through this method. He made the position known during yesterday's estimates debate.
In terms of our strategies, we're looking at surveillance, we're looking at quarantine for persons who are deemed to be at high risk based on their history of travel. But the moment we detect that very first case, we have to put our energies and efforts into containment. So while we're expecting the worst case scenario, we're preparing as best as possible, and we do not anticipate that there will be such a large scale spread if we do what we're supposed to do in terms of containment. Many countries who have had single digits cases more than 2 weeks ago have remained at that level because containment works. If we were talking about a flu pandemic, containment is almost not an option because it's just not possible to contain the flu in the way that it's possible to contain COVID-19.
Responding to a question, Dr. Best also revealed that the Ministry of Health and Wellness had developed a plan to protect the elderly against the virus.
We actually do have a very clear plan as to what to do to protect the elderly. We recognize that the elderly population is the most vulnerable population in other jurisdictions. And in fact, it was just yesterday that we developed that plan of action as to what to do. I'm not at liberty to go into details, but I would like to respond by saying we do have a plan of action that's being implemented as of today in terms of protecting that particular population.
However, that answer was not sufficient for opposition leader Bishop Joseph Atherley.
Why would you not be at liberty to give us details on a plan for the care of the elderly in case we have a problem?
Minister of Health and Wellness, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic, responded saying input was needed from other ministries.
Let me say that the plan is not a secret plan, but the care of the elderly goes beyond the Ministry of Health and Wellness. It goes beyond health care. And we have completed our aspect of it in terms of health care. But we are now scheduled to have a meeting with the ministry with responsibility for elderly care so that we can then fashion out what we will then call the national plan for the elderly in relation to COVID-19.
In other news, the Barbados Trust Loan Fund Limited has provided over $13 million in seed capital to over 2,000 entrepreneurs across the country. So says Minister of Small Business, Entrepreneurship and Commerce, Dwight Sutherland, who says the fund had done exceptionally well since its launch in November 2018. He told the estimates debate a cross-section of persons, including the disabled and young people, have benefited.
To date, as at the end of February, Madam Chair, member for St. Michael West, we have disbursed some 2,947 loans to businesses in this country. And I will go further, not to push at you, member for St. Michael West, but within the first 10 loans disbursed, we had 2 persons from St. Michael West. We have disbursed to 1,500 females and 1,400 males thus far, with a loan value of $13.3 million. If we measure delinquency, how it is measured normally by most financial institutions, we have a 10% delinquency rate.
The fund's general manager, Jerry Amos, said payments have steadily improved over the last 2 months, but measures have been put in place to address issues of delinquency.
We have actually brought on additional persons for compliance to actually reach out to these persons. But we are not only looking out for these persons for payments, we also want to know if there are challenges. So we have our business development team working with our compliance team in the event that persons who cannot pay, we just don't want to run them down and say you have to pay. We want to find out why they are not paying and in any way we can help, whether it's through training or using one of our partners to actually try to lift them up. We have also looked at other arms. Rather than persons coming to the trust fund for payment, we have used SurePay and Case Shepherd so persons can actually go to SurePay and Case Shepherd to make payments. In the last month, the SurePay has really helped us out a lot, and persons are really going there to make their payments. So I must say that the payments have improved significantly in February, and we are very happy the way we're going thus far.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Craft Center. Kick off the weekend this Friday from 4 p.m. to midnight with loads of food, drinks, and entertainment. Get ready for Crop Over with the Rhythm Root Street Parade. Party like it's Kadooman Day on the street around Pelican Village with costume reveler, music, and more. It's Festive Friday. It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Village Center from 4 p.m. to midnight. Admission free.
To news from our Caribbean neighbors now, the registration of over 200 nurses in Trinidad and Tobago has been declared null and void after a High Court judge ruled that the Nursing Council of TNT had no legal authority to act after April 19, 2019. We get more in this report from TV6 News.
While health stakeholders are expressing grave concern as the court invalidated the registration of over 200 nursing professionals registered during the contentious period. In the matter of David Murphy and the Nursing Council of TNT at the Port of Spain High Court, Justice Frank Cipesard on Monday ruled that the Nursing Council had no power to hold over in office after the expiration of its term. The court also ruled that the council had no statutory authority to effect any decision after its expiration. These decisions include the administration of practical and written exams, results, and the registration. The 22-page judgment declared that any such decision was now, quote, null, void, and of no effect, end quote. But admitting it was quite aware and alarmed by the repercussions of its decision, the court calls on the Ministry of Health appointed Quorate Council now in place to ratify those now invalid decisions urgently. If that's not done, the court said it hoped its declaration would, quote, catalyze a legislative response so as to remedy any ensuing hardship which may unfold upon those to whom the voided decisions relate, end quote.
And finally, the United Nations Trade and Development Agency says the economic uncertainty over the coronavirus will likely cost the global economy $1 trillion in 2020.
We envisage a slowdown in the global economy to under 2% for this year, and that will probably cost in the order of $1 trillion compared with what people were forecasting back in September. The IMF, for example, was forecasting a growth rate for this year of around 2.7%. They have since downgraded their forecast, as have other leading international institutions, the OECD and others.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.